Good evening and welcome to the Monday, January 13th, 2025 regular meeting of the City of Burbank Planning Commission. The time is 6:01 and we will call the meeting to order. Before we begin our meeting, there will be one general period of public comment tonight during oral communications. Persons speaking during the general public comment period may provide the Planning Commission oral communication on any matter concerning city business. Members of the public may comment in person or by telephone during the general public hearing public comment periods. If you would like to participate in the public comment period by making an in-person comment, please present a completed speaker card to the planning staff. If you would like to participate in the public comment period by telephone, please call 818-238-3335. We will announce when the phone lines are open. Please join me for a moment of reflection. This moment is intended to begin our meeting with a positive and collective support for our beloved community. The Planning Commission welcomes everyone joining us this evening. We encourage you to take a moment to reflect on our community and the work we will be doing tonight. Although each of us has our own unique reasons for being here, we are united in our passion for our wonderful city. As we pause, let us consider our own individual contributions and what they mean to those around us. Let us find solace in knowing that by working together with a shared spirit of community and partnership, we will always act responsibly for the city of Burbank. Will everyone please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, may we have the roll call, please?
Vice Chair Wick.
Present.
Commissioner Safarian.
Present.
And Commissioner Makratumian.
Present.
And Commissioner Bennett is absent.
Great. Do we have any announcements from city staff tonight?
We do not.
All right. Moving on to item number F, there are two public hearing items on tonight's agenda. Now is the time and place for the public hearing for project number 24-0001518, a request amending Title 10, Chapter 1 zoning and making other related amendments to the Burbank Municipal Code to implement the Burbank 2021 to 2029 Housing Element Program number 22 related to the update of the project appeal procedures and making other related amendments. Before we begin, do any Planning Commission members have any legal, financial, or other conflict of interest relating to this hearing?
No.
No.
No. Have any Planning Commission members had any communications, including written or oral, regarding this project?
No.
No.
No. Mr. Ramirez, has the notices as required by law been given?
Yes, they have, Vice Chair.
All right. Are there any written communications on this matter?
We have not received any written communications on this zone text amendment.
Great. Will the representative of the Community Development Department please introduce yourself and summarize the matter for us?
May I have the presentation, please? Good evening, Vice Chair Wick and members of the Commission. My name is Bobby Keating, Associate Planner of CDD Planning. I'm here tonight with my colleague, Senior Planner Greg Mirzaevakian, for your consideration as a Zone Text Amendment, or ZTA, to implement Burbank 2021 to 2029 Housing Element Program 22 related to the update of project appeal procedures. The reason for tonight's item is that on September 27, 2022, the City Council adopted the Burbank 2021 to 2029 housing element with the overarching goal of protecting and promoting housing citywide. As required by state law, the housing element includes a housing plan, which defines the specific actions the city is required to undertake to achieve housing element goals and policies. The housing plan includes 27 implementation programs. Under Goal 4 of the housing element, to remove constraints to housing, Housing Plan Program Number 22 calls for the streamlining of project review and appeal processes through the updates to the appeal procedures for planning projects, the appeal forms to require specific information, and the standard template language used on public notices and agendas. We will discuss each of these items in more details in the subsequent slides. Currently, the city's appeal procedures for development projects are outlined in two main sections of the zoning code and in various subsections of Title 10. Generally, any person may appeal a decision by the director or planning commission on a project application by the 15th day following the date the decision is issued. Persons filing an appeal are required to explain the reasons for the appeal, although reference to the BMC section justifying the appeal is not currently required. The existing appeal procedures allows an appellant to seek City Council determination on an appeal challenging the Planning Commission's decision on the appeal to a decision that was initially made by the director. This second appeal to the City Council for a decision initially made by the director can further delay the final decision on a project until all administrative remedies have been exhausted. Housing Plan Program 22 outlines a strategy for how to update the project appeal procedures with the objective of streamlining the project review and approval process. These proposed code amendments would, 1, conclude the appeal process for housing projects at the Planning Commission by making the Planning Commission the final decision-making body for decisions on projects made by the director. Inform updates to the appeal form to specify that appellants must clearly identify the code section that is the basis of the appeal, and update the project notices and agendas with additional language to clearly specify that the issues raised by an appellant during the hearing be limited to those topics that are stated in the form. The updates to the appeal form, public notice, and agenda templates are not included in the ZTA, but will be completed as administrative updates pending approval of an ordinance by the City Council. In order to implement the goals of Program Number 22, staff is recommending additional amendments to the BMC. One item is to amend the zoning use list to amend the permissibility of the multifamily residential with non-residential use, commonly known as mixed use, in BMC Section 10-1-502 to require an administrative use permit where a conditional use permit is currently required to make the Planning Commission the final review authority on an appeal to such projects. In addition, would be an amendment to the BMC to consolidate and standardize the appeal procedures into BMC Sections 10-1-1907.2 and 10-1-1907.3. Currently, the appeal procedures are listed in multiple locations in the zoning code, with certain inconsistencies between them regarding application processing and public noticing. The proposed updates are intended to make the appeal procedures more consistent and user-friendly, in addition to streamlining the appeal procedures for both Director and Planning Commission decisions for all planning applications. Staff is also recommending zone text amendments to clarify that the appeal procedures only apply to discretionary development review decisions and any decision to disapprove a ministerial development review application. Currently, the BMC does not clearly distinguish between the appeal procedures for discretionary and ministerial review decisions, which can cause confusion and uncertainty for applicants and the public. Lastly, the proposed zone text amendment includes changes to the public notification timelines to comply with the recently approved state law, which requires a minimum 20-day public noticing period for certain types of public hearings of the Planning Commission. The next few slides will explain in detail the changes that are proposed in the zone text amendment. These diagrams provide a visual representation of our existing appeal procedures. A decision that is initially made by the director, such as an administrative use permit or development review, may be appealed twice before the decision is final, whereas a decision that is initially made by the Planning Commission, such as a conditional use permit or variance, may only be appealed once to the City Council before becoming final. Note a decision that is initially reviewed by the City Council, such as amendments to the municipal code outside of Title 10, are final and may not be appealed. In order to implement Housing Element Program 22, the first main amendment staff is proposing would end the appeal process of a director's decision at the Planning Commission, making a director's decision final once appealed to the Planning Commission. Appeal procedures for projects that are initially reviewed by the Planning Commission and require final review and approval of the City Council would remain unchanged. The second main amendment staff is proposing are amendments to the zoning use lists under BMC Section 101502. The proposed amendments would change the permissibility of the multifamily residential with non-residential use, commonly known as mixed use, to require an administrative use permit where a conditional use permit is currently required. Where permitted, mixed-use projects currently require an initial decision by the Planning Commission through the conditional use permit process unless the project is otherwise allowed by state law through the ministerial streamlined approval process such as SB 35 and AB 2011. This amendment would instead require mixed-use projects to receive an initial decision by the director through the administrative use permit process, which establishes the Planning Commission as the final review authority upon appeal of such projects. The third main amendment staff is proposing would consolidate the appeal procedures for Director and Planning Commission into two main sections. Although planning appeal procedures are currently listed in BMC sections 10.1.1907.2 and 10.1.1907.3, some permit types in Title 10 include duplicative or inconsistent appeal procedures. The proposed text amendments would remove duplicative or inconsistent appeal procedures that may confuse applicants and the public and would redirect to either Section 10.1.1907.2 or 10.1.1907.3. Details on the amendments related to procedural consolidation are listed in the staff report. It is important to note that staff is not proposing to change the initial review authority for any of the listed permit types, but simply to clean and consolidate the appeal procedures into a central location. The fourth main amendment staff is proposing is amendments to the zoning code to create the distinction between the appeal procedures for ministerial development review applications and discretionary development review applications. The zoning code currently includes regulations for processing state-mandated streamlined ministerial reviews pursuant to SB 35, which created a ministerial review process for projects that must be approved when found to meet local objective development standards. These projects are not appealable in the city of Burbank. The project's required finding for a ministerial development review application is similar in purpose and intent to that of an SB 35 project, namely that the project is consistent with all provisions of the code and project approval therefore does not involve any personal discretion. However, to provide an administrative remedy in the event of a ministerial project is wrongfully denied, staff is recommending the addition of clarifying language to further emphasize that only a disapproval of a ministerial development review application and all discretionary development review applications are appealable, removing the ability to appeal projects that meet previously adopted objective development standards. Lastly, BMC currently requires public notice of Planning Commission hearings on proposed zoning ordinances and amendments to be posted 10 business days in advance of the hearing. In order to comply with recently effective AB 2904, the BMC must be amended to reflect a new 20 calendar day notice requirement. As proposed in the ZTA, this change would only impact zone text amendments and zone map amendments. If the project is approved by the City Council, staff would prepare an administrative update to the appeal application to establish clear instructions on how to file an appeal. Housing Plan Program 22 instructs staff to update the appeal form to specify that appellants need to clearly identify the specific findings and criteria that are the basis of the appeal. Staff would also prepare administrative updates to the public notice and agenda language to clarify that the basis for the appeal presented during an appeal hearing be limited to that which is stated in the appeal form. Housing Element Program 22 instructs staff to update the public notices and agendas with this additional language to clarify that topics not specified in the appeal form will not be considered by the reviewing body. California Code Section 65860 requires that modifications to the zoning code be consistent with the adopted general plan and the rest of the zoning code. Staff recommends that the Commission find that the ZTA to be consistent with the Burbank 2035 General Plan and the Burbank Municipal Code, and more specifically with Goals 2 and 4 of the City's General Plan housing element. The proposed amendments included in this project are consistent with the 2021 to 2029 Burbank housing element, and as such were contemplated and studied in the programmatic environmental impact report for the housing element certified in September 2022. Pursuant to CEQA guidelines sections 15183A, no further environmental review is required for this project. This ordinance is also exempt from CEQA under the common sense exemption listed under CEQA guidelines sections 15061B3. Furthermore, pursuant to CEQA guidelines sections 15378, this ordinance is not considered a project subject to the requirements of CEQA because the ordinance has no potential for resulting in either a direct physical change in the environment or a reasonably foreseeable indirect physical change in the environment, and instead involves administrative and procedural updates to the BMC. In summary, the proposed ETA will implement Housing Plan Program Number 22 as adopted by the City Council as part of the housing element on September 27, 2022. It will streamline the project review and approval process of housing projects by updating the existing project appeal procedures to make Planning Commission the final review authority on appeals to housing projects. It will consolidate the appeal procedures into a central location within a code by removing duplicative and inconsistent language, clarify the appealability of ministerial development review applications, and implement the 20-day public noticing requirement per AB 2904. If adopted by council, the proposed ETA will inform administrative updates to the appeal application forms, public notices, and agendas to require that issues raised at an appeal be limited to the basis specified in the appeal form. And before closing, staff would like to state on the record we have identified a minor omission in Exhibit A of the staff report on page A26 and A29 under section C2 on both. Under where it says, after the word include, the existing language statement of the reasons should have been shown as a strike through, and the words the legal basis should have shown as underline, as that's the new proposed zone text that's proposed as part of this amendment. So that concludes staff presentation. Oh, so not yet. Therefore, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution to recommend adoption of an ordinance by the City Council to amend Title 10 as described in Exhibit A of the staff report and find the project is exempt from CEQA. Now this concludes staff presentation. We're available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. We will now open the meeting to hear from any persons who wish to speak on this matter. Each person may address the Planning Commission for a maximum time of 3 minutes. For members of the public who wish to comment in person, please present a completed speaker card to the Planning Division staff if you wish to speak. For members of the public that wish to comment by telephone, please call 818-238-3335 to address the Planning Commission. Callers will be placed in a queue until all in-person comments have been received. The phone lines are now open. Please bear with us as it may take a couple of minutes for the first callers to get through the line. For callers, please remember to lower the volume on your TV or computer and take your phone off speakerphone when you deliver your comments. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers here tonight?
No,
Do we have any callers on the line?
not right now.
Okay, we'll give it a minute. Not for, okay.
Nothing.
Great, thank you so much. All right, there being no further public comment on this item, I now declare the public comment period closed. Would the representative of the Community Development Department like to make any further comments?
No.
All right. I now declare the public hearing closed and the Planning Commission will now deliberate. What's the Planning Commission's pleasure?
I just wanted to thank staff and city attorney for going through and making sure that this is all in line with both the housing element and it's in line with what we're trying to accomplish, which is to provide more housing and to make it easier to meet our 2029 housing element goals. It's a big lift to look through this section of the zoning code, so I just appreciate your efforts and support moving forward with this.
I'm also in support of moving forward.
I would concur that to what my fellow commissioner said. Thank you so much to staff for doing this. I know that the laws are changing very rapidly, and this is not an easy task based on everything else you have going on. And so thank you so much for making it clear, concise, and understandable for us. Would anyone like to entertain a motion, or?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to pass or a motion to vote on recommending the City Council to adopt an ordinance of the Council of the City of Burbank amending Title 10, Chapter 1, and making other related amendments to the Burbank Municipal Code to implement Burbank's 2021 to 2029 housing element program number 2022 related to the update of project appeal procedures and making other related amendments.
I second that.
Great. May we have a roll call, please?
Vice Chair,
Oh,
just
sorry.
real quick, just to clarify, that motion is inclusive of the edits that were read by Mr. Keating into the record?
Yes, that's correct.
And for the second, is that inclusive of your motion?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Vice Chair Wick,
Yes.
Commissioner Safarian,
Yes.
and Commissioner Makartumian.
Yes.
Great, thank you so much. All right, moving on to item number 2 on our agenda. Now is the time and place for the public hearing for project number 16-0003953 to receive public comments on the draft environmental impact report for the proposed 2500 North Hollywood Way hotel project. A new 7-story dual-brand hotel. The hotel, consisting of 420 rooms and a separate detached 4-story parking garage, the garage. The garage would consist of valet-only parking, providing up to 766 parking spaces. An additional, I have a hole punch through my report, so I don't know what it says. An additional, do we know how many number?
The number, it's 700 and, or
Well, I have 766, but.
285.
Thank you. This is live, everyone. An additional 285 parking spaces would be provided outside the parking garage as surface parking. Up to a total of 1,051 parking spaces would be provided on site. This public hearing is being held during the 45-day public review period that started on December 16th, 2024, and will end on January 29th, 2025. No decisions will be made by the Planning Commission at this meeting. Only public comments will be received. Before we begin, do any planning commissioners have any legal, financial, or other conflict of interest relating to this hearing?
No.
No.
No. Have any planning commission members had any communications, including written or oral, regarding this project?
No.
No.
No. Mr. Ramirez, have the notices by law been given?
Yes, they have.
All right. Are there any written communications on this matter?
We did receive one communication. I believe it was provided to the commission tonight. Did we receive anything else? No, that was just the one comment that we received.
Great. Thank you so much. Will the representative of the Community Development Department please introduce yourself and summarize the matter for us?
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. This is Daniel Villa, a Principal Planner in the City of Burbank's Community Development Department. Tonight I'll be going over a couple slides regarding the project proposed at 2500 North Hollywood Way. May I please have the presentation? I think we have the wrong one up on the screen right now. It may be for the next item. I'll be happy to talk to that, though.
We're not there yet.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, so I'll begin by providing just some overview of the presentation. I'll begin by providing an overview of the project, followed by an overview of the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA. I'll then transition into a summary of the findings in the draft environmental impact report that was prepared for the project, followed by next steps. Once I conclude my presentation, we'll then provide an opportunity for the public to provide verbal comments on the draft environmental impact report. I quickly want to remind the Planning Commission and members of the public that during tonight's meeting, as mentioned by the chair, the Planning Commission will not be making a decision to approve or deny this project. Tonight's discussion is limited to a big picture overview of the project and the associated environmental analysis. So for the public, that way the public has an opportunity to provide verbal comment on the draft environmental impact report. It is the city's practice to do this during the 45 public day review period. The Planning Commission and City Council will consider approval or denial of the project at a later date at separately noticed public hearings. It is anticipated that the hearings will take place in May, June of this year. Let's now go over a brief overview of the project. The project site is located at 2500 North Hollywood Way, property in the city's Golden State area that is zoned planned development and has a general plan land use designation of regional commercial. The property is generally located on the southeast corner of the intersection at Hollywood Way and Thornton Avenue. Developed on the site is an existing hotel, convention center, and surface parking lot. They were both originally built in phases between the 1980s and 1990s. On the screen are multiple pictures of the project site. And now switching slides, you'll see a couple other pictures of the project site. The project proposes to construct a 7-story dual-brand hotel with 420 rooms. It is anticipated that the hotel operators would be Aloft and Residence Inn. In addition, the new hotel, the proposal also includes a 4-story parking structure. A total of 1,051 parking spaces would be provided on site. The existing hotel and convention center would remain on the property. This is a rendering of the proposed hotel as viewed from Thornton Avenue. Thornton Avenue facing southeast. This is a proposed site plan. The proposed improvements are generally located over the existing surface parking lot on the northeastern portion of the property. Vehicle access on site would remain off both Hollywood Way and Thornton Avenue. Identified on the slide are the proposed portions of the development as well as the existing structures on site. As part of the city's review of the project, the applicant provided staff a list of project objectives that help shape the proposed project. They are included in the following slides. However, to remain brief, I will only read some of them. They include to enhance the continued economic revitalization and urbanization of the Hollywood Burbank Airport area with premium lifestyle and extended stay hotel brands, catering to the modern business and leisure traveler. To construct and operate additional conference, meeting, entertainment, dining space, fitness facilities for hotel guests and patrons, and a ground floor central open courtyard with pool and deck amenity areas to provide additional outdoor space. To redevelop a portion of the surface parking lot area that is underutilized into a more economically productive use that complements the existing development on the property and is consistent with the city's ongoing re-envisioning efforts within the Golden State Specific Plan area. And also to support and enhance statewide decarbonization efforts through the development of an all-electric project free from fossil fuel reliance, on-site generation and use of power through solar panels and battery storage, reducing vehicle emissions through an efficient guest drop-off and pick-up portico share design, and by operating a valet-only parking garage for more efficient parking of guest vehicles, and encouraging the replacement of gas-fueled cars with electric vehicles by providing hundreds of EV charging stations and EV-ready plugins. The project as proposed requires approval of an entitlement package that includes the following: a plan development, a development agreement, and a development review application. The project and these associated entitlements will be considered by the Planning Commission and the City Council at future notice public hearings. Let's now go over an overview of the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA. CEQA was signed into law, I believe, in the 1970s, hopefully I got that right, with the intent of establishing policy regarding environmental protection across the state of California. CEQA created a process through which local agencies can disclose information and inform decision makers about the potentially significant environmental effects of a project, identify ways to avoid or mitigate significant environmental impacts, enhance public participation in the planning process, and also foster interagency coordination in the review of a project. All proposed activity deemed to be quote-unquote a project, as defined in CEQA, is subject to the requirements of CEQA. This proposed hotel development is considered a project as defined in CEQA. Therefore, it is subject to CEQA's environmental assessment requirements. City staff determined that preparation of an environmental impact report, also known as an EIR, is required for the project. The flowchart on the slide identifies the process for the preparation of an EIR. As of today, staff has prepared a draft of the environmental impact report and has released it for a 45-day public review period that began on December 16, 2024. The review period will end on January 29, 2025. During this public review period, the city will be accepting comments from the public on this draft document. Subsequent to this 45-day review period, staff will respond to all comments received and will prepare what is called a final environmental impact report. This will include our responses to comments. Once completed, the final environmental impact report, along with the entitlement package, will be considered by the Planning Commission and City Council, again, at a separately noticed public hearing. As established per Appendix G of the state CEQA guidelines, the draft environmental impact report evaluates several environmental topical areas. They are included on the slide. It's a total, I believe, of 20. Staff's analysis established that a majority of the environmental topical areas would result in no impact, less than significant impact, or less than significant impact with mitigation incorporated. However, significant and unavoidable impacts would occur for the following environmental topical areas, despite implementation of feasible mitigation measures. Those include greenhouse gas emissions, noise, and also utilities and service systems. They are identified in red on the screen. These significant and unavoidable impacts would generally result from construction noise associated with standard construction practices for this type of commercial development, and also greenhouse gas emissions primarily associated with vehicle trips of the proposed hotel development. In accordance with CEQA guidelines, the draft environmental impact report identifies several alternatives that were considered in efforts to compare the environmental impacts of the proposed project to those of other possible projects. The first list of alternatives on the slide includes those alternatives that were considered for analysis but rejected as they failed to meet a majority of the project objectives or they were infeasible. A description of each of these alternatives can be found in the draft environmental impact report. Additionally, two other alternatives were considered, the no project alternative and also a reduced intensity alternative. The reduced intensity alternative generally looks at an option of reducing the proposed number of hotel rooms in the development by 25%. The draft environmental impact report provides a more comprehensive description as well as an environmental analysis of each of these two alternatives and compares the findings to those of the proposed project. The analysis establishes that the reduced intensity alternative, as the environment is, it identifies it as the environmentally superior alternative. Sorry, there's so many alternatives there in that one paragraph. However, it also acknowledges that some of the applicant's project objectives would not be met to the same extent, and significant and unavoidable impact would still remain. This concludes that summary of the draft environmental impact report. Let's now go over the next steps associated with the project and the environmental analysis. As previously mentioned, the draft of the environmental assessment is out for public review. The review period will conclude on January 29, 2025. After conclusion of the public comment period, staff will be preparing responses to all public comments, and they will be included in the final environmental impact report. Once the final environmental impact report is completed, and once staff has completed review of the project, it will be scheduled for separate public hearings before the Planning Commission and subsequently the City Council. It is anticipated that these hearings would again occur in May and June of this year. Should members of the public have comments, they can provide those tonight during the public comment portion of this item, both verbally or if they're written, provide them to our clerk. Or they can also submit those written comments to me via email or mail. My contact information is on the slide. And I'll leave it there for a couple more seconds. With that, that concludes my presentation. We will now open the discussion for a public comment period. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will now open the meeting to hear from any persons who wish to speak on this matter. Each person may address the Planning Commission for a maximum time of 3 minutes. For members of the public who wish to comment in person, please present a completed public speaker card to the Planning Division staff if you wish to speak. For members of the public that wish to comment by telephone, please call 818-238-3335 to address the Planning Commission. Callers will be placed in a queue until all in-person comments have been received. The phone lines are now open. Please bear with us as it may take a couple of minutes for the first callers to get through the line. For callers, please remember to lower the volume on your TV or computer and take your phone off speaker when you deliver your public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers here tonight? Great. All right, our first speaker is Aaron Green.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Aaron Green. I'm the president of the AFRIA Consulting Group. We represent AWH Partners, the applicant for this project, and I just wanted to give a couple of brief comments. We are joined by several members of the project team, including our legal counsel at Allen Matkins, and I wanted to start by thanking staff. They have worked diligently with us over many years, and we are not only grateful for their time, Daniel and his team, but looking forward to hopefully moving this project to come back to you before a full hearing later this year. A couple of project benefits that I just want to touch on that I think will hopefully go into latter decision making and be taken into consideration. One, as Daniel mentioned, this is going to be the city's first, if approved by the Commission and the Council, the city's first all-electric hotel, and we believe the city's first all-electric major development project. In addition to that, we expect that 85 full-time jobs will be created by the project, and that is on top of the hundreds of jobs that will be created during construction. We're very pleased to have the Southwest Regional Carpenters as our partners on this project, and so these jobs are not only going to be construction jobs, but good-paying union construction jobs. As referenced in some of the findings or recommended findings, the support that this project will create for local businesses is very significant. So with the increased patronage at the hotel, we anticipate that that will increase foot traffic as well as utilization of businesses in Burbank, not just around the site, but in the broader community. And in addition to that, our outreach on this project has been very robust. I want to share with the Commission that we have met with all of our commercial property owners, everybody from Jeff Worth to Disney to MSG, each of whom are housing hundreds of employees around the project site. We have also met with and been in touch with Burbank Chamber of Commerce, Visit Burbank, the airport. We've really wanted to bring our neighbors into the discussion of this project as it moves forward. On top of that, we, in addition to our required community and public meetings like this one here tonight, we did have a voluntary community meeting just last month where we mailed notices to more than 700 people and residents and businesses that surround the project site. We did have several inquiries, but we did not receive any comments of concern about the project, and we were very pleased to hear that. We think that that is a result of thoughtful planning for the project. I note that my time is running tight. I just want to say lastly that in addition to many of the other benefits of the project, we're going to be investing more than $1 million in the infrastructure and the public right-of-way around the project. That's on top of $6 million worth of fees that we're paying to the city and an approximate $2.25 million a year in TOT revenue. So we appreciate the Commission's time, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Jamie Kieser.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. My name is Jamie Kieser, and I am here representing the interests of Burbank business community as the CEO of the Burbank Chamber of Commerce to speak in support of the new hotel project at 2500 North Hollywood Way. The Chamber is very excited to see this dual-branded hotel move forward for a number of reasons. This hotel will have an immensely positive impact on local tourism, keeping tourists and visitors in Burbank, especially as we head into massive tourism events like the Olympics. We want visitors flying into the brand new Hollywood Burbank Airport Terminal to find lodging in a beautiful, conveniently located Burbank hotel and enjoy all Burbank has to offer, including our world-class dining, retail, and entertainment. This hotel comes at a great time alongside the airport project, in addition to other nearby projects that which together will continue the critical revitalization in the airport district. This new hotel will also provide the city with much-needed new stream of transient occupancy tax revenue, bringing the millions of dollars to the city to fund the various critical programs and initiatives that we offer to our residents and visitors. This project is a win-win-win. A win for our economy in strengthening our tourism industry, a win for the city increased revenue, and a win for workers with the creation of many new jobs. The Chamber hosts the State of the City address and luncheon each year at the Los Angeles Marriott Burbank Airport. For the past 2 years, we've been at capacity in the main ballroom with close to 700 attendees. This event brings together the who's who of Burbank in our business community, and we have almost outgrown the space. The Marriott is the only hotel that can accommodate events of this scale, but we want to if we want to drive tourism to this great city, then more development and convention space is needed. We certainly need to consider that. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Joshua Christensen.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Joshua Christensen. I'm a representative with the Western States Regional Council of Carpenters. We represent 90,000 men and women in the construction scope of carpentry, which consists of 29 different scopes of the construction industry. Also a member of the Local 661, which we cover about 4,100 members, which live in the Burbank area. About 200 members of that 4,100 live in the Burbank area. We're excited to support this project, and we're asking for your support to move forward. And not only will it boost the Burbank's economy, but also bring more tourism dollars. It'll also bring a good supply of local jobs and skilled wage jobs as well. Right here in Burbank, the Carpenters have partnered up with Burroughs High School and has a Carpenters program in their high school. And if you've paid attention in the last year, they competed in some skills events in Orange County and across the state, where some of their students have received some high honor awards. And those students have expressed to get into the carpenter trades, and this would be a great path for them to move right into the trade, moving to a job site that's in the same city which they live in, which again will help mitigate those green gas, excuse me here. It'll eliminate those driving on the freeway and stuff like that. We look forward for your consideration of this approval of this project. We're excited and ready to build, and we're here for anything you guys need. And we thank you for your time. And this is a great project. A great developer has come in and willing to put money into Burbank and to help it grow and to help the economy grow as well. We thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Do we have any further speaker
No,
cards?
excuse me, no speakers or callers.
Okay. I guess people have had time to call in, so we don't need to wait. All right, I now declare the public comment period closed. Would the representative of the Community Development Department like to make any further comments?
No further comments on the public comments. However, I just wanted to remind the commission that tonight, the purpose of this item is simply to provide an overview of the project, the environmental assessment, and also to take in public comments. There will not be further discussion on the project, and a decision will not be made on the project tonight. With that, that's it for me. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, I now declare, I guess, the public hearing closed. All right, moving on to item number G, reports to commission. Now is the time for reports from city staff. There is one report on tonight's agenda. We can wait while everybody files out. Thank you so much, everyone. All right. Now is the time and place for the Planning Commission to consider a report on the implementation of the greenhouse gas reduction plan. Will the representative of Burbank Water and Power please introduce yourself and summarize the matter before us?
Yes, wonderful. Good evening. My name is Drew Johnstone. I'm the Sustainability Officer for Burbank Water and Power. I'm a longtime viewer of these meetings on YouTube, first time presenting. Nice to meet you all in person. I'm going to be presenting tonight on the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Plan status report. So if you may recall, back in May of 2022, City Council adopted the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Plan. And in that plan, it commits staff to provide annual updates to the council and the public. And so for the last year or so, we've been working on such a status report. And I'm here tonight to present at a high level that report and talk about some of the resources if you want to dig in deeper into any of the details. If you can pull up the slideshow, please. Thank you. So to remind everyone, the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Plan, or the GGRP, as we've referred to it, and improve the quality of life for residents and workers. It includes a lot of commitments, investment, and significant work. The GGRP was developed by the community during a lot of outreach and stakeholder events, as well as staff, and we brought on expert consultants to help us develop dozens, actually 19 strategies, dozens of measures, and almost 100 actions in this plan. The GGRP also commits staff to reporting on an annual basis using a tool called CapDash. And in that tool, there are quantitative updates, so looking at key performance indicators and metrics, as well as an accounting of the city's greenhouse gas emissions. And so to prepare these status reports, it took a lot of collaboration between departments. My partner in sustainability, Amanda Landry, I wish she could be here, but we worked across departments to collect data and we went back and forth to ensure that data was accurate and worked with our consultant, Rincon, to get it updated into CapDash. So here are all the departments in the city. Everyone had a role to play in developing the GGRP and the status report. And as I mentioned, we utilized Rincon consultants, who were the original consultants that helped us develop the GGRP in the first place. So it was really great to have that institutional knowledge brought on board to help us with this status report. So we'll dive in a little bit here to first the greenhouse gas emission inventory. So what we're looking at here are all the human activities within Burbank that cause emissions. They are made up of types of gases you've probably heard of, like carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide. And when these gases are trapped in the atmosphere, that's what causes climate change. So we can measure and track those emissions by conducting what we call a greenhouse gas inventory. And that inventory organizes the data into these categories or sectors that you see on the presentation now. So our aim is to conduct an inventory once a year. And we will, to do this, we collect data from various departments, looking at energy consumption, fuel use, landfill waste, etc. And when we create this inventory, it creates a new snapshot in time, like what were our emissions that year. And as every year we do these inventories, we can see trends over time. And of course, we want to see a downward trajectory in our community's emissions. So here is a chart or a table of some of the results from this most recent greenhouse gas emission inventory. So on the leftmost column, you can see the sectors. And then the next two columns are the inventories from 2019 and 2022. 2022 is the most recent year. We had a full year that we had data. And so that is what we have here. So most importantly, at the bottom right of the slide, our emissions were reduced by 11% since 2019. So this is a good thing. Looking at the data another way, here's a table with each of the sectors as a different color on the bar chart. And then broken down in another way, here's a pie chart showing the emissions of the different sectors. It's kind of interesting to see the data in different ways. But you can see the primary drivers of emissions in our community are energy consumed in our buildings, both electricity and natural gas, how that energy is generated, as well as the transportation sector. So if you combine those two, it's over 95% in those two sectors alone. So that's where we focus a lot of our energy in reducing emissions in those areas. So how do we reduce? Our GGRP has 12 strategies, 21 measures, and 124 action items. And so I'm not going to go over all those, of course. Those are all in the GGRP. But in the status report that was published recently, have it here. It's also posted online. We have the CapDash tool, but also in the addendum to the status report are qualitative updates for each of the measures. So I encourage you folks that are interested to look at the addendum for more information. But I have highlighted 3 departments within the city that have significant roles to play. CDD, our Community Development Department, they're a lead agency in 9 of the 12 different strategies of the GGRP. You can see some really great things here, like promoting energy efficiency and electrification. I was really happy to hear about this project that just presented, talking about all electric construction. This is what we want to see because that's 0 on-site emissions. So that's a great thing. CDD is also very involved with transportation, our safe routes to schools program, our Complete Our Streets plan, our transportation demand management program, working with our largest employers to get folks to use public transportation, alternative forms of transportation. And let's see, I'm moving on to Public Works here. They have quite a few measures as well. When it comes to energy generation, this refers to the landfill that we manage, the municipal landfill. It's kind of interesting. We have a methane capture system, and that methane is used to generate electricity that goes right into the Burbank Water and Power grid. So we've got a great working relationship with Public Works to manage that. Comes to zero emission vehicles, Public Works commissioned a municipal fleet optimization study. So they looked at the city's fleet vehicles, what would be the most feasible to electrify, what type of EV infrastructure would we need to install to accommodate those EVs at the various departments throughout the city. We're obviously, BWP is working very closely with Public Works on that as well. And then the Water Energy Nexus, this refers to the city's continued enforcement of what are called the Model Water Efficiency Landscape Ordinances that are statewide, but we enforce here locally. And of course, organic waste diversion, huge amount of work going into this with SB 1383 compliance. You see a lot of the green bins everywhere. Public Works is actively working with the restaurant community, multifamily properties, single-family homeowners, et cetera, to get those green bins out into the community to reduce organic waste going to landfill, which will significantly reduce methane in landfills. And then when it comes to city government actions of Public Works, in the GGRP, this refers to the conversion of our outdoor lighting at our facilities to LEDs. This is kind of a low-hanging fruit thing, but we have a lot of lights, and it takes time to convert all those lights over to LEDs, but our facilities department is doing a great job at getting through those. And they're also partnering with Building and Safety to conduct an electrification opportunity assessment. So kind of like new construction going all electric. We've got a lot of existing buildings that are still mixed fuel that have gas. If we can convert some of our big gas uses to efficient heat pumps, that'll save the city energy and money. So they're looking into that as well. Then Burbank Water and Power. This is my wheelhouse especially. We're leveraging our customer programs, such as our rebates and incentives, to help folks be more energy efficient in their homes and businesses. We are definitely promoting building electrification, converting fossil fuel uses to efficient heat pumps, and partnering with Burbank Housing Corporation. This is really important when it's a cornerstone measure in the GGRP. We have a goal to help them electrify 100 of their units by 2030 and all of their units by 2045. To date, we've only helped them electrify 4 of their units. That was a new construction project or a really large conversion project. So I'm really looking forward to working with them more closely in the coming years to help them electrify. And of course, BWP is responsible for generating electricity for everyone in Burbank. And we are currently at 42% carbon-free energy being delivered to customers, and state mandates call for us to get to 60% renewable by 2030. And we have an internal goal to be 100% carbon-free by 2040. So we kind of have this pathway ahead to increase our renewables, and our power supply team are actively working on getting contracts to make sure we keep increasing the amount of renewables in our community. And we do a lot of work on EV charging infrastructure. We've got over 100 public EV charging stations throughout the community. We're looking to increase that and also provide incentives to both commercial property owners as well as residents to help them install EV charging at their homes and businesses. So in the GGRP status report, the latest one that we published, next to each of the measures, there's a little icon just showing the status of the measures. So that's what those mean. And then here's kind of a snapshot of the CapDash tool. A lot of quantitative data, so a lot of KPIs, a lot of numbers. But if you're looking for more qualitative information, that's going to be in the report itself and in the addendum. So as far as next steps go, I'm going to continue to do this type of presentation. I've already presented to other boards and commissions. I'll be presenting at Council January 28th. And then really when it comes to staff, it's all about implementation. We have this great roadmap. We have to focus, hit the ground running, and implement all these great strategies in this plan. This GGRP, mentioned here, it represents almost a $2 billion investment if we look at everything in this plan. But this is kind of an asterisk because this plan refers to a lot of other council adopted plans as well. And that cost kind of includes a lot of city infrastructure, a lot of the general plan and specific plan updates, as well as the cost it'll take Burbank Water and Power to procure more renewable energy between now and 2045. So it's a big investment, but it's also over decades. And staff are being really diligent trying to apply for grants, state and federal funding to help reduce the cost to Burbank. That's my next slide, or last slide. Thank you very much for this opportunity to daylight that this GGRP status report has now been published, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Sorry about that. All right. Thank you so much for your presentation. We will now open the meeting to hear from persons who wish to speak on this matter. Each person may address the Planning Commission for a maximum time of 3 minutes. For members of the public who wish to comment in person, please present a completed speaker card to the Planning Division staff if you wish to speak. For members of the public that wish to comment by telephone, please call 818-238-3335 to address the Planning Commission. Callers will be placed in a queue until all in-person comments have been received. The phone lines are now open. Please bear with us as it may take a couple of minutes for the first callers to get through the line. For callers, please remember to lower the volume on your TV or computer and take your phone off speaker when you deliver your comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers here tonight? Or callers? on the
No
line?
speakers or callers.
All right, we'll give them a few minutes. I think this is the coolest presentation tonight, so I don't know why the public isn't here, but. Nothing? Okay. All right, I'll now declare the public comment period closed. Would the representative of Burbank Water and Power like to make any further comments? All right. Does the commission have any questions of staff?
Oh, Drew, thank you for your presentation.
You bet.
I do have a question just in terms of trying to understand, as we plan for, we just had a presentation about the housing element, and as we anticipate, and we had a presentation about this new hotel project, and so we're anticipating growth in the city. How do some of these numbers, I guess the targets, how do they change as we see more growth?
Yeah, so we have targets based on state goals and executive orders and legislation such as SB 32, which calls on all cities to reduce their emissions over time. So we're looking to stick to those despite growth in population and the economy. Fortunately, we've seen good trends here in Burbank. I mean, population has increased, the economy has gone up over time, but our emissions have declined, which is a good thing. So we're doing our best to mitigate emissions despite, it's a good thing that we're growing. So what we can do, Burbank Water and Power, when we look at the amount of electricity we need to generate and procure, we look out over 20-year horizon. We have what's called an integrated resources plan. So we expect the need to procure more energy as economy grows. More of our buildings are going to be electrified, more electric vehicles. So we're looking at a really far horizon timeline in our planning of infrastructure. And then the good thing about doing these reports regularly is we can see trends over time and assess where we're at every year.
And can you provide a little bit more context about why the retrofitting of some of those units, that program hasn't taken off quite the way it has, and what are the near-term goals of how to accelerate that?
Not specifically with Burbank Housing Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it has to do with our staff resources. I have a vacancy for a project manager that is going to lead this, but I don't want that to be an excuse. I mean, working in the multifamily sector is notoriously very difficult, especially with tenant-occupied buildings. So it's going to require a lot of coordination and planning to first do like energy audits, see what are the existing conditions. We're going to have to work with an outside vendor to do that. So we've got to do an RFP. We've got to bring in someone that can do an assessment for where electric panels need to be upgraded, how many units have gas equipment, what we need to replace. So it's going to be a multi-step process that is just going to need to get kicked off within the next year. So I'm hoping to do that in 2025, 26.
Thank you. That's all for me.
Yeah, thanks.
I actually just have a question kind of bouncing off a couple things my fellow commissioner said. So with am I correct in assuming that our RENA numbers are factored in to this report, meaning like the units we have to build by state mandate, they're kind of factored in, and then because our energy is going down, does it level out, or will we have more emissions because of increased population?
Yeah, we expect our energy consumption to increase substantially over time because of population, more units, more all-electric units, more electric cars. So we know that's coming. So we'll need to generate more electricity, but we need to clean it up as well. So usage can go up, emissions are supposed to go down as we convert our fossil fuel generation, or either gas, coal, to renewables or other non-polluting resources. And as far as like the RENA numbers are definitely included in some of the other plans that are kind of beneath the GGRP, like the integrated resources plan I mentioned at BWP. A lot of our specific plans, obviously take those into account as well. But when it comes to just like our emission reduction goals, they're a certain percent below 1990 levels, regardless of growth. So we got to get there by cleaning up our energy and transportation. Those are the two big slices of the pie.
Got it. And in terms of, this is maybe kind of a convoluted question, but because people always ask, do we have the can we support an increased population? So where are we at in terms of being able to support? Is it, I know that you said we need to generate more energy. Is it, do we have enough right now to meet our RENA numbers, or do we need to do it, increase?
We will increase over time. We're not going to
Okay.
procure more energy than we need. But yeah, I mean, BWP is one of the most reliable utilities in the country. Very rarely do we not have enough energy to supply the community. So our, power supply folks do an excellent job of predicting how much we're going to need every hour, every day, week, year. And then, as I mentioned, we look 20 years out. So we're already working on contracts for projects that will hopefully be developed in 2029, 2030. Those are happening now.
Got it. So you're forecasting like 5-6 years out. It's proactive instead of reactive.
Right. We have a combination of both long-term and short-term contracts with our energy suppliers, as well as the spot market. So if there's some peaks we need energy on the open market, there are ways to procure energy like day of if we need it, and that happens all the time too.
Got it.
And Vice Chair, just to add, most recently you saw the submittal of the overlay zone for the housing element opportunity sites, which were part of our RENA calculation. And as part of that, BWP and the utilities evaluated what the demand requirement would be for those units. So the short answer is it has been accounted for. How we get there is where we rely on Drew and the other members as far as how the sausage is made, so to speak. But as far as committing to and developing the units, we're all working towards that effort with the integrated resources plan and diversification of the type of energy, as well as the fact that we have green building code requirements for new construction that actually significantly reduce the amount of energy usage for what would be the same number of units that a project years ago would have required. So I think all those things working in unison are going to be part of the overall effort to get there. But we've already committed to it when it comes to the RENA number. The question's going to be ultimately how that bucket of resources are brought together to, at the end of the day, be there when we have to pull the switch or flip the switch for the units. But we're working collectively as a city team to make sure that we have the sufficient resources to accommodate that. When the specific plans come forward, there'll be a whole section on utilities, and there'll be an environmental assessment. And so you'll get a very specific number and associated any impacts or needs that we'll have to commit to. And so that'll come to you as you see the individual specific plans going forward. And then we'll provide a cumulative analysis as well as part of that effort so that you can see in greater detail all the work and everything else that the utilities will be doing to get us to that point. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure, just as a refresher both for myself and you all, that we kind of committed as a city to make sure we found a way to get there for power, for water, for sewer, for the RENA numbers that are on the books now.
Great, thank you so much, because I know that a lot of members of the public will probably watch this back and have those questions, so thank you for saying them. Does anybody have any other questions for staff, water and power? We're good? All right. The Planning Commission will now discuss. What is the Planning Commission's pleasure? I think it's a note in file.
Yeah, this was just a note in file. I think the feedback you provided us is helpful, and we'll keep in mind that we will constantly be bringing forth more information to let the public know that we're operating within our means collectively. So thank you.
Got it. And I wouldn't normally say this, but since we had a disaster last weekend, I think given that we're all Burbank residents up on this dais, we really thank Burbank Water and Power for everything they did. I lost power at my house. It was only out for about 2 hours, which was incredible. So thank you. And I also just wanted to say that, again, I'm sorry for taking up time on the dais, but I read the news of Ron Davis's passing, and I just wanted to extend, since we have Burbank Water and Power here, our thoughts and prayers to his family.
Thank you. I'll extend your appreciation to our crews who are out there. Yeah, they're putting in long days and very difficult jobs, so thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
All right. Now is the time for approval of the minutes from the October 14th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. Are there any questions, comments, and/or a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
All right. All those in favor to approve the minutes from October 14th, 2024, say aye.
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 Any oppositions? No? Great. All right. Oh, we have a second approval, sorry. Now is the time for the approval of the minutes from October 28th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. Are there any questions, comments, or a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second to approve the minutes.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Great. All right. Moving on to oral communications from the public. Any person speaking during this period may address the commission on any matter concerning city business. Each person may address the Planning Commission for a maximum time of 3 minutes. For members of the public who wish to speak in person, please present a completed speaker card to the Planning Commission. To the Planning Division. For members of the public that wish to comment by telephone, please call 818-238-3335 to address the Planning Commission. Callers will be placed in a queue until all in-person comments have been received. The phone lines are now open. Please bear with us as it may take a couple minutes for the first callers to get through the line. For callers, please remember to lower the volume on your TV or computer and take your phone off speaker when you deliver your public comment. Madam Clerk, I see we have one speaker card here tonight.
No callers as of
Okay.
now.
All right, our first speaker is Savada Isoyan. Thank you. Hi, good evening.
Good evening, planning commissioners and staff. My name is Savara Isan. I'm a Burbank resident now for 15 years, and I'm coming in to give some critical feedback regarding the planning process. I've been now, this is over 2 months now, I've been involved in my application for a minor setback variance, so I can finally then fulfill the formal application for a remodel of my residence, only to have gone through over 2 months of grief. The biggest concerns, of course, is communication, of course. More so, of course, expectation, of course, of payment was only after complaining twice, voicemail and email. After a month of that time elapsed, I finally got to pay the application fee so my application could be reviewed. During that time, of course, one of the staff members were at least helpful enough to help with helping out. Ms. Benitez, of course, very helpful in that regard. But the problem I keep on going back to is why we don't have a more efficient way of actually the planning process and actually making sure when someone is trying to actually put a request in, they could actually pay for that request so it can progress properly and not take months longer than should be. So at this point, my purpose of being here is to implore the Planning Commission members to really review the process of payment to make sure payment can be done immediately, so that way the others don't have this wasted a month time frame, and also planners could be assigned to cases like mine, which are very much minor cases that should take no more than a week of review quickly, rather than another extra month on top of that first month. So at this point, I'm basically at over 2 months' time with almost nothing done. So I'm not sure about for you, but for me, this is considered a lot of wasted time. And having to take on time off of work to come and complain to the, to their offices, basically, in the city building, just to get heard and actually get any feedback. So my hope is basically to actually get real change And I'll be coming back here expecting it again until it has been changed. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for your comments. Do we have any further?
No.
All right. Seeing no further comments, I now declare the public comment period closed. Staff, would you like to respond?
Yes, we thank Mr. Asayan for coming in. I did send an email out this afternoon at 3:34, acknowledging his concerns regarding the process, the uploading of plans and payment. And we're currently in the process of actually updating our online application process so that when you do submit an application, we have a provision in there so that it requires you to make payment at the time of submittal, so that we don't have situations where things are uploaded, they may get lost in the upload, and then for us to actually initiate the review, there has to be payment. So that is one of the things that is currently underway. Just to clarify, we did submit a complete letter in January 7th. So there was an assigned planner that has been working on it over the month since the actual fee came in on December 5th. And I encourage the applicant to continue to work with that planner. And if there's any additional follow-up, I also noted that actually Greg Mirzawakian, who was here today, is a senior planner. He helps in assisting in reviewing the work of the planner that's assigned. So I encourage him to reach out to Greg. You can give him a call tomorrow, and then they can follow up on next steps in the process. But we are always trying to be better. We can be better. And we're looking at updating that. The idea is to eventually integrate the enterprise systems for processing of submittals so that things are submitted, payments are taken, and then that there is the system itself prompts people. If there's something that's incomplete, it would notify them saying you have an incomplete application in the queue, and secondly, it wouldn't allow you to finalize your application submittal if the fees aren't paid. So those are things that we're currently working on, and I think that would be completed in the coming months. But in the interim, like I said, apologize to the applicant for any delays he's experienced, but if he reaches out to my planning staff tomorrow, we'll see how we can expedite the remaining steps in the process for the setback exception. I will say, in the absence of having a minor setback exception, the only option available would be a variance, and as you know, variances are very difficult to get. So as difficult it is to go through a process, the outcome of which we anticipate once you've addressed any issues related to the development standards, it does create a relief valve and an opportunity to address these issues. So with that said, like I said, I encourage the applicant, feel free to give us a call tomorrow and we'll follow up with them.
Great. Thank you very much, and thank you for your comment. All right. Now is the time for introduction of additional agenda items. Planning Commission members may introduce new items for discussion, but no action may be taken except to place the item on a future agenda. Do members of the commission have any items to introduce? No? All right. Now is the time for city planner comments. Are there any comments from the city planner?
Just in light of the fact, thank you, Vice Chair, for acknowledging the passing of Mr. Ron Davis, our former city manager. I just wanted to see if the commission was okay with adjourning, on his behalf in light of his passing. But also on a personal note, when I started here in 2017, he was the city manager of record, and over the 3.5-year period while he was in the helm overseeing, and we have a great city manager currently in Mr. Hess, who was working under Mr. Davis at the time. One thing that resonates in my understanding working with him is he really did have a heart to serve for the community. He did quite a bit in a very short window of time to ensure the city's resiliency, not only his years prior as a general manager for BWP, but just as a city manager. He mentored quite a few people, myself included, and others. And one thing that he was quick to note was to always listen with an open mind. to be willing to change and to always not forget that we're doing things to better the lives of Burbank residents. And I really do take that to heart and appreciate that. I think he made an indelible mark on a lot of people in the community, and he will be missed but not forgotten. His name's on a building at BWP for all the right reasons. But as just learning from our leaders, I think he really set a high bar for us as Burbank employees, just to remind us that he really loved the city. We really love the city. And he went above and beyond to make sure that you can all be proud of your community. So, our thoughts and prayers are with his family, with his larger Burbank BWP family in particular. And then just personally, like I said, we're better for knowing Mr. Ron Davis. So thank you guys for letting me get this out. And I appreciate it. Yeah, if we could adjourn in his honor, that'd be great.
Well, how do you top that? Thank you so much. We will now adjourn the Planning Commission to the Planning Commission meeting on Monday, January 27th at 6 p.m. We are adjourning this meeting tonight in the memory of Ron Davis. This meeting will be held in person in the City Council chambers at 275 East Olive Avenue. The public is invited to attend the meeting in person or to view the meeting online or on television. The public will be able to provide comment in the following three ways: in person at the appropriate time during the meeting, by leaving an e-comment on the city webpage, www.burbankca.gov/e-comments, or three, by calling in directly to the Planning Commission meeting at 818-238-3335. Thank you all for your participation and have a good night.